Have you ever felt that quiet, uncomfortable shift in your relationship? Like something has changed, but you can't quite explain what it is? That feeling in your chest, that subtle unease, is often your mind trying to process signals your conscious thoughts haven't fully caught up with yet. Before you ignore it or push it aside, it's worth understanding that our emotional awareness works very much like our physical health. Small symptoms often appear long before a bigger issue develops. In relationships, emotional changes rarely happen all at once. Just like the body gives early warning signs before illness, human behavior reflects inner shifts through small, almost invisible patterns. You might notice conversations becoming shorter, responses feeling less engaged, or a lack of curiosity where there once was warmth. These changes are easy to dismiss. You might tell yourself she's just tired, stressed, or dealing with something personal. And sometimes that's true. But when these patterns repeat consistently, they deserve gentle attention rather than avoidance. From a psychological and emotional health perspective, what's happening here is often a gradual shift in emotional energy. Think of emotional connection like a shared resource that needs regular care and presence. When that energy starts to move or become divided, the connection can begin to feel weaker, even if nothing has been openly said. This doesn't automatically mean betrayal or wrongdoing, but it does signal that something within the emotional dynamic is changing. It's important not to jump to conclusions or let anxiety take over. Instead, approach this awareness with calm observation. Emotional distance can come from many places, including stress, burnout, or unmet needs that haven't been communicated. The key is to stay grounded and notice patterns rather than isolated moments. Healthy relationships rely on emotional presence, and when that presence begins to fade, it often shows up in subtle ways first. One of the earliest signs is a shift in energy. Not dramatic, not sudden, but gradual. The warmth may still be there, but it feels thinner, like something is slightly off beneath the surface. You may find yourself trying harder to reconnect, putting in more effort, giving more attention, hoping things will return to how they were. This is a very natural response, but it's also where many people begin to feel emotionally drained. Understanding these early emotional signals is not about blaming or assuming the worst. It's about becoming more aware, more present, and more emotionally intelligent. When you recognize these patterns early, you give yourself the chance to respond in a healthy, thoughtful way rather than reacting MTVKH fear or confusion. As you start to notice these subtle shifts, you may also begin to see small irritations emerging where there weren't any before. Things that once felt ordinary or even endearing may now seem frustrating or distracting. Jokes might land differently, your presence may feel heavier than before, or conversations may feel more like routine than connection. This isn't necessarily about dislike or resentment. It's often a reflection of how emotional attention is being redistributed. Our emotional energy is finite, and when it starts flowing towards something or someone else, even unconsciously, it naturally reduces the energy available for the existing connection. This redirection of emotional focus is rarely abrupt or dramatic. It's slow and often hidden, making it easy to misinterpret. Many men, especially those deeply invested, try to compensate by increasing attention, texting more, planning more, or giving more gestures of care. While well-intentioned, these efforts sometimes backfire because they don't address the underlying shift. Emotional connection isn't about quantity, it's about quality and resonance. If the energy in the relationship is slowly draining, external effort alone cannot restore it. At this stage, guilt, tension, and subtle emotional withdrawal often creep in. A person might still spend time with you, laugh at jokes, or maintain routines, but there's a quiet distance forming. Affection feels less spontaneous, enthusiasm is slightly dulled, and shared moments can feel more transactional than connective. It can be confusing because the signals are mixed. She's present, yet not fully engaged. This ambiguity is one reason so many men struggle to recognize what's happening. They sense the change but can't articulate it, leaving them frustrated or uncertain. From a psychological perspective, these early signs are actually protective mechanisms. Humans are wired to compartmentalize emotions. A person can care for you deeply while simultaneously developing interest elsewhere. This dual focus creates tension, which then manifests in small but observable changes in behavior. Awareness is key here. By noticing these patterns without immediately jumping to assumptions, you can better understand the dynamics at play, see emotional energy shifts more clearly, and approach the situation with clarity rather than fear. Part of responding effectively is slowing down and observing without judgment. Notice changes in tone, engagement, and responsiveness over time rather than reacting to individual moments. Emotional shifts like physical symptoms rarely occur overnight. They are cumulative, appearing gradually and subtly. Recognizing them early gives you the power to address concerns with empathy, communicate effectively, and make informed decisions about your own emotional well-being. Once you recognize these subtle changes, the next step is to approach them with clarity and care. The goal isn't to accuse or control, but to understand and respond thoughtfully. Start by observing patterns rather than reacting to isolated moments. Pay attention to how energy, curiosity, and warmth are showing up in daily interactions. Is she fully present in conversations, or is her attention elsewhere? Does affection feel spontaneous or more obligatory? These observations help you see the true emotional landscape without letting anxiety distort your perception. Communication becomes essential at this point. When patterns persist, gently open a dialogue that prioritizes honesty and emotional safety. Avoid blame or judgment. Instead, focus on sharing your observations and feelings. For example, you might say, "I've noticed we seem a bit more distant lately, and I want to understand how you're feeling." This invites a collaborative conversation rather than triggering defensiveness. A warm, empathetic approach often uncovers hidden stressors, unmet needs, or emotional shifts that might have nothing to do with betrayal at all. It's also important to maintain your own emotional health. When someone's energy starts shifting, it can be tempting to overcompensate or internalize the changes as a reflection of your worth. Emotional intelligence means recognizing your own needs, setting healthy boundaries, and nurturing connections that are mutually fulfilling. By doing so, you not only protect yourself from unnecessary emotional strain, but also model the kind of presence and attentiveness that encourages open, honest communication in your relationship. Finally, remember that relationships are dynamic. Emotional energy ebbs and flows naturally, and noticing subtle changes early allows you to respond proactively rather than reactively. Whether it leads to deeper connection, improved communication, or an informed decision about the relationship's future, awareness gives you control over your emotional well-being. Trust your instincts, observe patterns, and approach every moment with calm curiosity. These skills don't just help you navigate potential challenges, they also deepen your understanding of yourself, your partner, and the profound ways emotional connection shapes our lives. By cultivating this awareness, you move from confusion and uncertainty to insight and clarity. You're no longer guessing about what's happening. Instead, you're equipped to see behavior for what it truly is, respond with empathy, and make choices that support both your happiness and the health of your relationship. Emotional intelligence, presence, and understanding aren't just tools. They are your guideposts for nurturing meaningful, resilient connections that withstand life's inevitable changes.